Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Let's get after it.
Has the moon always looked like this? Have you looked closely at the ancient Sumerian and Egyptian depictions of the moon? None of them show the rough surface or craters that we know the moon has today. It wasn't until recent, the 1600s, that it was discovered by Galileo that the moon had mountains, pits, and other features on it. This was said to be because of the newly invented spyglass, or telescope as we call it. Now that enabled us to see objects in space closer than the human eye. And before that, scientists believed the moon to be a smooth sphere. But wait, it's not just me, right? We can literally see the moon's craters with our own eyes, no telescope needed. So why did they think that it had a smooth surface before? I mean, unless everyone back then had extremely bad eyesight, this doesn't make any sense.
But I cannot see, I'm legally blind.
Theories are that someone or something has somehow changed the image of the moon. Could it be a hologram? Others are theorizing that things, large alien-like things, have hit or crashed into the moon, causing these Earth-like mountains and craters to form. But who knows?
I would say it's more likely that they just didn't go into detail in their carvings and draw the pits and craters and stuff in the moon and all these old carvings and stuff. Yeah, you can clearly look up at the night sky whenever there's a full moon and see all the dents and dings and blemishes in it. But it's also quite possible that those dents and dings and blemishes weren't always there. Maybe some asteroid strikes or something like that have changed the appearance of it over thousands of years since they claim these carvings were made.
Now, there's something else you should know about the sun, because people think, well, is the sun so hot, wouldn't that burn up the objects? And the answer to that is the sun is actually not hot. And I know that sounds loony-toony to you, but it's cold fusion. Think about something. I'm sure many of you have gone in an airplane, yes? And it could be very hot on the surface of the ground, and then you take off. And if you look at the monitor, you can see, especially on international flights they do this, as soon as you go into the atmosphere, it's way below zero. 50, 60, 70 below zero. Now think about it. You're going up, literally, closer to the sun. Why does it get colder? Shouldn't it get hot? And if the sun is hot, shouldn't space, interstellar space and the solar system space, shouldn't be warm out in space? But yet it's hundreds of degrees below zero. Why? Because it is not hot. The sun is not hot. It's just light. And what creates the heat on the Earth is our atmosphere and the light refracting through the atmosphere and then reflecting off the surface of the planet, which is why it's only warm at the surface. And as higher you go, it gets colder. Repeat that.
Then why can I stand under a shade tree with my feet still in the sun and only my upper half in the shade and get cooled off? Wouldn't the light reflecting off the ground, bouncing back up to me, heat me up and keep me just as hot, since all that heat is focused at the ground level? That doesn't make any sense to me. I could be processing his speech there wrong, but that doesn't make any sense to me.
Hey, so I have a story to tell you. Come here. It's about a man named Gus Grom. On January 22nd, 1967, Gus Grom held an unauthorized press conference in which he told reporters that the U.S. was at least a decade away from even contemplating a lunar mission. He was severely rebuked for giving that interview without permission. Following this reprimand, Gus Grom hung a lemon attached to a coat hanger in front of NASA's emblem to indicate to which any cameras present that he and his fellow crew, Roger Chaffee and Edward White, thought of the Apollo program. It just so happens that 5 days later, on January 27, 1967, Gus Grom, Ed White, and Roger Chaffee were killed on the launch pad when a flash fire engulfed their command module during testing for the first Apollo Saturn mission.
It just seems like a bunch of coincidences to me. I'm joking. I just wanted to get a bunch of people fired up to go leave comments. No, that's highly suspicious. That definitely looks like that guy was permanently silenced. We all know NASA's line, and all liars will go to extreme ends to keep their secrets. Hey, if you're enjoying this video, I make a new one just like it every single day. It'd be awesome if you'd hit that subscribe button and come back tomorrow to join me.
So Taylor Swift is finally showing you guys who she truly is, and you're still not paying attention, huh? She literally called herself a witch in this tweet. Billboard chart says this is a song for all the lonely witches. Y'all think they're just putting on an artistic act? This woman was on tour going state to state, doing live rituals on stage. And nobody's paying attention to it, huh? You're that brainwashed.
Pitchforks and proof. Their receipts and reasons. They're burning all the witches, even if you aren't one. And
Ladies and gentlemen, that is a serpent behind her. Y'all waking up yet? Last week's sweetheart has turned to this week's witch. In that video, she was acting like she was in hell. So yeah, last week's sweetheart has turned to this week's witch in hell. But are you catching on yet? So a witch in front of a serpent. Let's go deeper, ladies and gentlemen. Isn't it interesting that Taylor Swift looks exactly like Zena LaVey? Who is Zena LaVey, you might ask? She's Anton LaVey's daughter. Anton LaVey was the founder of the Satanic Church. And his daughter, Zena LaVey, was a high priestess for Satan. Safe to say she was a witch. Oh, how the resemblance is remarkable. So America's Sweetheart blew up being America's Sweetheart. But now she's trying to make it cool to be a witch. Why is that? Well, I said it before, you do not get this big without certain contracts being signed. They got her right where they wanted her just so they can turn her around so she can manipulate the youth. The kids love Taylor Swift. But instead of being a great role model that she built her fan base off of, now she wants to be a witch. Y'all see the switch? And this isn't something new. Billie Eilish with children. Building a fan base with children. Then all of a sudden she made a song called All the Good Girls Go to Hell. Now this is your Billie. Now this is your Billie. And all the brainwash would call it artistic. Lil Nas X built a fan base off of children. They blew this man up out of nowhere. Then what happened? Out of nowhere, he switched. Next thing we know, he's sliding from heaven into hell. Even gave him his own satanic shoe. They had 666 on him. Also Luke 10:18, the verse in the Bible where Satan fell like lightning. So do you guys see the comparison? Do you guys see the pattern? Do you guys see who they're after? They're after the youth. Because if they can control the youth, they can control the future. Y'all might have thought she was America's Sweetheart, but my Bible says even Satan himself masquerades like an angel of light. Stop listening to these artists and stop letting your children listen to these artists. Little do you know, you are allowing demonic spirits to come into your household. Because when you play that nonsense, you are coming into agreement with that nonsense. Your eyes and your ears are portals. What you let into them is what you're coming into agreement with. 2024, let's be smarter. Let's be more wise. If it's not glorifying God, cut it off. God bless you.
The similarities in appearance between Anton LaVey's daughter and Taylor Swift, I do honestly think is just a coincidence. There's lots of people out there that look like you. There's lots of people out there that look like me, unfortunately for them. Everybody's got doppelgangers. Everybody's got, twins that ain't twins. As far as the witchcraft stuff, though, is it just me or does it seem like every artist is doing this now? You didn't see any of this stuff like just a couple years ago. And then all of a sudden, it's like every concert is a satanic ritual. But yeah, that Lil Nas X, of him talking about them coming after our children. Lil Nas X used to go perform at schools, in like elementary schools and stuff, singing that cowboy song that he had. I forget the name of it. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with all that crap, but there's definitely something going on.
It's hard to believe that a society would support a system that required that immense amount of labor and planning and engineering, all that, for no other reason than to bury one tyrant. Around these pyramids, there will be other things in the area, which are like granite stones in the pavement, deep under the paving tiles. Underneath those are some granite stones that have channels cut into them, like a channel like this that water would flow through or whatever, and they go into or from the pyramid. And so it looks like there's this whole system of like channels that had some liquid possibly moving through them, and bowl-shaped stones cut with these tiles over top of them. Something was going on under the floor around the whole pyramid area. Then there's the basalt tiles that show up at various pyramid sites. So it seems like there's a design that has multiple things outside the pyramid that are always around it that also suggests some kind of function. And, you know, people have looked at the possibility of
like
chemical
chemistry,
processing,
metallurgy, you know.
It wouldn't surprise me if it would ultimately be found out someday to be something like that.
I heard a good explainer video one time that was talking about the pyramids and what their potential use was. And they proposed or hypothesized that they had filled those chambers with mercury. I don't remember exactly what their reasoning was as to how they drew that conclusion, but I remember them talking about qualities of mercury and what it could have been used for, at least to harness energy for them or store energy even. But these massive structures were built for something, and it wasn't to bury somebody in.
Will kill literally everybody, and they're doing it anyways.
The dangers aren't 50 years away. They are 5 to 10 years away. And we need to act now to prevent a disaster from happening. Jeffrey Hinton is called the godfather of AI. He's one of the pioneers of deep learning who developed some of the most important techniques used by modern artificial intelligence. But after 10 years as VP and engineer at Google, he stepped down. He wants to raise public awareness about the risks of artificial intelligence, and he felt he could only do that honestly if he wasn't being paid by a major corporation.
I think there's a lot of different things we need to worry about with these new kinds of digital intelligence. And so what I've been talking about mainly is what I call the existential threat, which is the chance that they get more intelligent than us and they'll take over from us. They'll get control.
Okay, so the people who know the most about AI, the people building it, are saying we have to slow down. And some researchers like Eliezer Yudkowsky think slowing down is not enough. He thinks we have to stop everything and shut it all down right now.
You might imagine that it gets a hold of some GPUs and tries to build a backup for itself, writes the next version of itself and makes it even smarter. But, you know, maybe you can make itself smaller, more efficient. Maybe it can back itself up in multiple places in computers where you would not expect that there was an AI on board. Maybe it can find unknown security holes in a cell phone, in many varieties of cell phones. Start listening to human conversations, get more blackmail material.
But now that research has begun, will it really stop or even slow down? Well, just a couple of years ago, Putin gave a speech where he said, artificial intelligence is the future, not only of Russia, but of all mankind. Whoever becomes the leader in AI will become the ruler of the world. And leaders of China and the United States agree. A new arms race has begun and competition is fierce. OpenAI, Google, and Microsoft are investing billions into artificial intelligence. Apple just announced it will be joining the fray. Russia, China, and the United States are all rushing to achieve AI supremacy. Because no company or country wants to be left behind, technologies are being rushed to market and deployed before anyone really understands how they work, what they can achieve, or what damage they can do. Some researchers believe the key to our survival is teaching artificial intelligence morality, teaching it to know right from wrong.
If AI is going to learn morality from humans, we're screwed.
Oh, I agree. It doesn't matter who signs that petition. Research is not going to slow down. There are signatures on that letter from people who are receiving billions in funding and haven't slowed down one bit.
Rules for thee, but not for me.
Even if a company says they're slowing down and being responsible, do you really believe them? Do you trust them?
I do not.
But let's say every company and country on Earth agrees to slow down AI research and deployment, and they agree to work together with full transparency. What about rogue organizations, hacker groups, or cyber terrorists? A few weeks ago, OpenAI announced they'd be releasing a new open source language model to the public for free. So what then? Governments and militaries will argue they need to make AI more and more advanced to stay ahead of criminals and other bad actors. And businesses will push to release more complex AI products because consumers want them and their shareholders demand it. Pandora's box has been...
You know, this AI stuff I feel like has already gotten out of hand. We're already seeing signs of the dead internet theory come into fruition. For those of you who are not familiar with that, dead internet theory is essentially where everything on the internet is posted by AI or some computer program, and there's no actual new information put out there by a human. AI would cull all these articles and use those as its source for its language model. And then eventually, after so much AI has been used to write articles and things on the internet, it's sourcing itself. And so it goes into this loop where AI is sourcing AI to create new AI stuff. Not sure if I explained that well, but that's dead internet theory. And of course it's going to replicate itself and spiral out of control because humans made it and we don't think before we do things.
One civilization I've found so far is not even on Earth that's extremely advanced, and that would be on Mars. We've downloaded now probably close to 1 million images from NASA, the Indian Space Agency, Russian Space Agency, and the European Space Agency, and now China as well. And we've cataloged about 50,000 anomalies. These are things that are out of place with the surrounding terrain. We, meaning the United Family of Anomaly Hunters, there's a group of us, 14 of us. And some of these anomalies have made international news. Mars, we discovered, has had a combination of high-level technology, higher than us where we are right now on Earth at this particular day and age, and also some signs of having ancient technology. So it's a combination of both. Whether some of it was like that because part of the planet was destroyed at some point and then tried to make another comeback like we were on a track to, and those are other old ancient remnants there. Because if you go to Giza right now with ground penetrating radar, you'll find hundreds of structures underneath the sand right now that are dilapidated, broken down, collapsed, buried structures. The same thing could have happened on Mars and just could be exposed when all the mud and the water, the flood, flew over the land because there was a global flood there, maybe even twice. But there are some structures there that are still standing and some other objects that appear to be highly technologically advanced, even more than some of the things we have here. When I say that, I'm talking about things that look like, and I can't say this is what they are, but things that look like hovercraft and so forth that we don't have here at this particular moment in time.
You know, I was just having a conversation with somebody in the comments section of our last video about the potential for advanced technology being left over on Mars. And it's interesting because I didn't realize that Mars is actually in the Goldilocks zone. I thought that the Goldilocks zone was a lot smaller than it actually is, so that was my stupidity on that one. If we did inhabit Mars, thousands and thousands of years ago, as that planet began to die, we jumped over to this one, then it would make sense that we had a lot of leftover technology there. Pyramids and obelisks and things that you see here from this planet's previous advanced civilizations. That being said, I haven't seen anything that to me is definitive evidence or proof that we've ever been on Mars or that we can even get there. So this is nothing more than just a theory as far as I'm concerned.
Cruising oil. This is the Freemasons. This is Hindu. This is your spine, and that's Egyptian. That's right. Because guess what? It's called Santa Claus when he comes down the chimney and gives a gift to us. This is the Santa Claustrum. It's in your brain and it comes down and it gives a gift to us and it goes back up. So this is why Jesus dies at 33 years old, because it goes down your spine and back up. The Christos, or the golden oil. In Greek, Chrysos means gold. So the claustrum is up here. Santa goes down the chimney. That's because Jesus was in Nazareth with his mama. And then King Herod wants to kill Jesus. So Jesus must go all the way down to be born in Bethlehem. Then he goes back up. See, he's going down this river and back up, down the spine and back up. So this is Kemet in Egypt. This is the Jordan River. So the Jordan River is a little tiny replica of this because this was the lotus flower or your spine. So this represents your spine. If we know that this did represent your spine, which it did, then undoubtedly the Jordan River represented the spine, just like the Nile River. This is for you ignorant churchgoers, I swear. Candy cane is red for feminine, white for masculine. It's the two nerves, the Ida and the Pingala, the sun and the moon. So the Pingala is the pineal gland, that's the Ida. That's the pituitary, the negative component, and the pineal gland, the positive component. So you have the milk and honey, the gold and silver. This is the promised land. So when, what's his name? Jack climbs the beanstalk, he goes up his spine and finds the golden egg in the gray clouds, which is the gray matter in your brain. Well, look, Saint Nicholas is Saint Naga-less. Naga means serpent. That's why when Thor takes the Bifrost Bridge, this is your thorax, which is 12 vertebrae. There's 12 vertebrae of your thorax, thoracic vertebrae, and there's 12 ribs on each side, 24 ribs. So there's Arthur and the 12 knights at the round table, your 12 vertebrae. Jesus and his 12 disciples. Thor takes the rainbow bridge, which is your chakras, your spine. Arthur is the only one who can lift the sword. Thor is the only one who can lift the hammer. Because you have to be worthy. Raise your frequency to go up. Pituitary gland, pineal gland, and your optic thalamus. So the energy goes down from your claustrum, the oil at least. The oil goes down the vagus nerve to the sacrum bone where it pumps it back up. And it actually activates your third eye and it illuminates the crown chakra. This is the Pingala and the Ida, and they mix and they come back up. And your skull is the holy grail, and that's why it's the elixir of life, the fountain of youth, because your skull is called a fontanelle, that little hole at the top of all of babies' heads. It's literally called a fontanelle at the top of the head because it's the fountain. So the energy goes from the bottom to the top, and the snake grows its wings.
Man, I feel like I'm going to have to watch that about 10 times to fully grasp everything that he's putting together there, but definitely feels like something worth digging into. I wish I had the education that guy has. It's fascinating to see how all these things are interconnected, even like Greek mythology stories and all of this stuff is all based off of the same concepts and the same ideas repeated throughout history. It's kind of fascinating when you think that all of these stories from all these different generations of people that have gone back throughout of all of time, the stories that lasted and had that staying power are the ones that seem to have this hidden information buried in them. It's pretty interesting. Makes you wonder, why did those stories specifically last? Is it because people realized the importance of them, or is there some other force in the universe that is making sure that these stories get passed down so that we don't fully lose this information, so that somebody can dig in and figure it out? Pretty interesting to think about.
I cannot believe what I just read. This weather station in Dallas posted this, and it's a picture of this radar, and them saying, hey, like you would think that this is rain, but it's not. It's actually the military dropping tiny fiberglass particles covered in aluminum and plastic. And the reason the military is dropping these fiberglass particles is because they use this to fool the radar into thinking that it's precipitation versus military planes. And this is a normal military exercise that happens all the time across the country. People were outraged. So they posted this saying, hey, we only post what we know. This is really happening. And if you want to know more about it, go to this article. So naturally, we go to the article. Is chaff safe for humans and the environment? The government says, yes, probably. Half the shreds of aluminum, fiberglass, and plastic used by the military to help trick radars is considered safe, even though government officials concede research on the effect it has on humans and the environment is limited. I'm sorry, but in what world is it safe to inhale fiberglass coming from the skies?
If this don't piss you off, then not much does. You know, it's crazy that they'll openly admit to doing this stuff and then lie and say that there's no weather modification going on. This is, you could say, not weather modification, but if they're dropping stuff in the atmosphere, you think it's not modifying the weather? Of course it is. You think it's not getting sucked back up into the atmosphere whenever it pulls the precipitation up and all this stuff is mixed in with the water? Our government is so stupid, man.
Why is it that even though the Earth spins at 1,000 miles an hour at the equator, goes around the sun at 66,000 miles per hour, which travels through the universe at 500,000 miles per hour, which is expanding at over 1 million miles per hour, are we able to take a picture of the sky on the same day every year and never see changes in the stars, even for thousands of years? Why does Elon Musk say, you can tell it's real because it looks so fake? That's because it does look fake. Look how the Earth glitches out in the background, but the car doesn't. And see how the Earth supposedly looks from the International Space Station, which is 240 miles up. However, this was taken from only 170 miles. Do you see an issue here? It's just like the Red Bull space jump in the Mythbusters episode that used downward-facing fisheye lenses to create massive amounts of curvature. But the non-fisheye lenses from the capsule and the cockpit show flat horizons, which concur perfectly with weather balloon footage more than 20 miles up. Which, by the way, 20 miles high is roughly the size of the bulge that should be in the state of Kansas due to it being 413 miles wide. Here's what 20 miles up looks like. That would be a large bulge for something that is supposed to be flatter than a pancake. And by the way, Kansas is only the 9th flattest state in the US. How many pieces of flat land does it take to make a ball? Why, when we look at the stars in December, do we see the same stars that we see in June? We should be looking in two totally different directions.
How come the Earth seems smaller from higher up? How come Elon Musk's video with the car in it shows the Earth so small compared to the International Space Station, which is supposedly further away? NASA's lying, or Elon's lying, or both of them are.
We were way more advanced in the past than we thought.
If you still think we're the first advanced civilization to exist on Earth, then this will change your mind and blow it at the same time. Okay, so this is a map of pyramids all around the world, all allegedly built independently of each other and all having identical structures that follow this similar step pattern. Now I know, most historians will tell you, oh, it's just the easiest tall structure to build. It's human nature. If it's so easy, why are our 21st century brains not capable of doing what dozens of ancient civilizations have repeatedly been able to do? We got the famous pyramids of Djoser in Egypt, but everyone knows about those. Across the world, there's Chichen Itza, Pyramid de los Nichos, Tikal Temple, the Great Pyramid of Cholula, among others in Mexico. And then on the other side of the planet, we got Koh Ker and Prasat Baksay Chem Krong in Cambodia. Off the coast of a tiny Japanese island deep within the ocean is the sunken Yonaguni monument, a supposed 10,000 years old, older than even the Egyptian pyramids. All with a nearly identical look, yet built by completely different cultures with zero contact among each other and thousands of kilometers apart. But this is just the tip. We got way more lesser known pyramids, even older than the Egyptian ones that ain't even standing anymore. Like the Gunung Padang Temple in Indonesia. Doesn't look so hot now, but used to be a step pyramid a whole 9,000 years ago. At least that's what they thought, until a more recent radiocarbon analysis shows that the lower parts of this temple go as far back as 28,000 years. Then this enormous hill in Bosnia was studied, and almost every archaeologist that visited it confirmed that it could not have been naturally formed, perfectly aligning to true north among many other characteristics of pyramids. These studies found out this hidden monument is over 35,000 years old and would be the oldest and largest pyramid in the world, hidden under years of vegetation. But the Bosnian government strangely halted further study on this thing for some reason. There's a crazy story behind what they found there, which honestly deserves its own video, so I'll probably be dropping that sometime. Fallen Pyramid of Hellinikon in Greece has boulders that are joined so tightly that even a human hair can't fit through the joints without any sort of ancient cement used. Built around 3000 BC, meanwhile, an almost identical masonry techniques was found in these walls in the city of Cusco in Peru, called Sacsayhuaman, over 11,000 kilometers away. And how old are these walls? Mainstream history will tell you they were built around the 15th century, but researchers recently uncovered a writing system built directly within the blocks of these walls that's well over 30,000 years old. Again, a topic that deserves its own video coming soon. This exact method is also found on a site called Ahu'vinapu on the remote Easter Island, older than even their legendary Moai heads, as well as Khafre's Valley Temple in Egypt. How did our ancient ancestors figure out these identical building techniques completely independent of each other when we still have no idea how they did it to this day? Now we get to the Ellsworth Mountains in Antarctica. Okay, get your tinfoil hats ready for this one, because this satellite footage from 2016 shows what could be a pyramid buried in the South Pole. This map from 1513 by sailor Peary Reyes shows a perfectly accurate coastline of Antarctica, even though it wasn't officially discovered 300 years later in 1820. What's weird is this map connects South America to Antarctica, which it could very well be that over 10,000 years ago these two continents were connected by a sheet of ice. Researchers claim this map was sourced from an even more ancient document that survived from the Library of Alexandria in Egypt, which was destroyed by the Romans. What if the builders of Giza left this map as directions as to where else they put pyramids around the world? And the pyramids are just the start. Take a look at these ancient artifacts from Bolivia, Turkey, Indonesia, and Easter Island. 4 completely separate corners of the world, all with identical carvings and artistic styles used, and again, thousands of kilometers apart and absolutely no contact among each other.
If the powers that be won't tell us our true history, what else are they lying about?
All right. The pyramid thing is pretty fascinating that we have so many of them and that they're all over the planet. The Easter Island statues and the other 3 that he showed up there towards the end of that clip and said, how do we have these in 4 corners of the world and they're all identical? They look nothing like each other. That's literally just carvings. If I carved a statue, it's going to look rudimentary because I'm not Michelangelo. But somebody in another area might carve one and it's probably going to look something similar to mine until they get better at it. But I would imagine they would have similar characteristics. especially considering they're all trying to carve the same thing, a person. Guys, I'm going to go ahead and call it there. I don't know what my deal is today. I did not sleep very well tonight. Oh, you see what I mean? I did not sleep very well last night, and I've had the craziest brain fog all day. It's so hard to just focus, and I almost made the decision to not put a video together because I thought I'm not even going to be able to talk because I'm just so tired. But I thought, no, even if it's not the best quality video, I'm still going to make one and put it up because I know you guys depend on it. And so I didn't want to let y'all down. So I went ahead and got one. I hope that it was worth watching. I really struggled just trying to maintain coherency. I hope this wasn't an impossible video for you guys to sit through. I will make sure I get better sleep tonight so that we can be back with the ball rolling the way it's supposed to tomorrow. Also, tomorrow we're going to be launching the Discord server. Finally getting there. I will announce that in tomorrow's video and how you get there and sign up and all that good stuff. And I just hope y'all have a great day. I hope y'all have a great, fantastic day. And I hope you come back and see me tomorrow. I'll be here waiting with another video, guaranteed to be much better than this one. Y'all have a great, safe, fantastic day, and I will see you tomorrow.